Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to another edition of Basilisks and You. Basilisks? Basilisks. Basilisks and You. Basilisks and You. So you found yourself face to face with a basilisk. What do? You gotta fight it. And it seems like things are going well for you so far. And that's because the basilisk hasn't activated its ultimate ability yet to rip your face off and not die. They like to stun, they're very social creatures, pretty nasty overall. You don't want to run into a pack of basilisks. A Basque pack is what we call them down in the New Haven city pub that we go to. Take a look at this guy. He's got 1% health but doesn't want to die. It's due to this resilience buff that they apply to themselves, making him a huge pain in the A to deal with on a regular consistency. Now I have to kill 15 more of these things, and I want to do it in an efficient method. And hitting something at 1% health for approximately 10 to 15 seconds isn't very efficient. So I'm here today to tell you, or show you, how to deal with a basilisk. Basilisk? Now first you're going to want to find a basilisk. That's a daisy toad, not a basilisk. Oh, here we are. Basilisks. You can use a kunai to pull and back away from his friends so they don't rip your face off. See, easy peasy. Now these enemies are a little harder than I'm equipped to deal with. It's a difficult encounter, so it is difficult. And it becomes much more difficult when they pop their resilience buff, which they do like clockwork. Just about. Not yet. Getting closer. Around the 20% mark, you want to blast them with. Oh, shit. So the basilisk was successful in activating its resilience buff. What do you do now? You have to hit it 4 times before you can damage it again. And with a 6-second auto attack timer and long cooldowns on abilities, it can be quite frustrating. But there's still hope. As you can see, I switched to a faster weapon. It attacks faster and it breaks those stacks down quicker. Kunai are also amazing for this. When your abilities are on cooldown and your attacks on cooldown, you just whip out a kunai and that takes a stack down too. Basically, any attack that does direct damage to an enemy is going to remove one of those stacks of resilience, such as kunai. The Warlord's Open Wound buff is a really strong one because it can proc off of all your party members, and also Hemorrhaging Strike from Duelists later on as well. But the damage over time, they don't seem to affect it at all, even the initial application of that damage. I also forgot to mention that the Berserker's follow-through ability, it adds extra damage to your attacks, and I believe that functions as additional direct damage, though those should really whittle the stacks down, especially if you're dual wielding. However, the whole point of this video is showing you how to avoid the resilience buff entirely, which I'm failing to do so. These guys can be a real pain in the butt, especially if you're in the Basilisk EV and you're trying to get experience or just go through the loop, making any sort of progress. It's a slog, because you're basically spending an extra 15-20 seconds to kill a mob that should have been dead already. Only 12 more to go. We're cooking. And Basilisks aren't the only enemies with defensive buffs and debuffs. It's definitely worth it to keep an eye on your portraits and the enemy portraits to see what's going on. A lot of enemies like turtles and stonecoats, they'll use a physical damage resist buff, like 75% physical damage resist. It's not worth using your skills and attacks on creatures like that when they have their buff up. So if you keep an eye on what's going on their portrait there, you can see a good time that's like, just don't attack it for a while. But with the resilience debuff, or resilience buff, that just doesn't go away. It takes like a minute, so you gotta break those stacks down. So this is the secret to killing basilisks. You kill them before they can use their resilience buff. It takes a little bit of timing and maybe not just spamming your abilities with reckless abandon. But if you can time it right, you can just blast them down, preferably from 20%. They will activate it at 20%, but it can be tough to get that type of damage out that quickly. So I save my most strong attack or two attacks, and I try to do a little wombo combo. You can even time it a little bit better by turning off your auto attack, for instance, and then using an attack. Your auto attack will follow up right after that, and then you can follow up with another attack. Strike is actually really good in this instance, especially as a supporter, because you don't have a lot of instant damaging attacks. So we'll watch a couple more examples here and see how it goes. The goal is pretty simple. You're just trying to burn them down from 20% to 0% before they activate their resilience buff, because they will activate it every single time. And as you can see, the last 2 kills have been much more smooth. You're conserving stamina, you're not taking as much damage, and you might have to time a few abilities, and it might not be as fast as killing like a regular mob by holding off on using a strong attack, for instance. But that 4 attacks, that's like 5+ attacks you gotta get in just to get that buff away. It's no fun. And while I was playing this game initially, fighting Basilisks, and there's a lot of them, especially in Dryfoot, it's pretty much something you had to constantly deal with. People want to go to Basilisk EV. I'm like, no, I never want to go there ever again. But there's really good gear there too, so I frequent the area. One more thing here, the triple chevron Basilisks have 15 stacks of resilience, so if you're in a group and you're not coordinated on Discord, you might have a hard time coordinating that 20% burst period. So utilize those other methods I mentioned on how to break the stacks. That about sums up this video. I hope it was helpful. I know once I discovered how to deal with Basilisks effectively, I had a lot better time dealing with Basilisks in general. So have fun out there, stay safe, keep an eye out for those Bask packs. They will rend the flesh from your bones. See ya!